Hello everybody, happy Valentine's Day. Today is February the 14th. How's everybody doing? Beverly is making brownies. After the live today, I'm going to be making some chocolate custard, my Grand's chocolate custard. Hi everybody. I have a video about my Grand's chocolate custard here on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out and make some for Valentine's Day. Even if it's just you, love yourself and make some chocolate custard. Hi everybody. It's so great to see y'all. I have something a little different today. I took Mimsy's advice. Thank you so much, Mimsy. And I have pre-recorded the sewing portion so that I can hang out and chat with you during the live. Hi everybody. And it was lovely. Can I just tell you? Because I am actually somebody who likes to just chill and sew in my own time with some music on. The genre of music varies day to day, depending on my mood, but I just like to chill and sew with music. So I got to do that, and then we get to benefit from it on Friday. Hi everybody, do y'all see something new in my studio? Shh, she's sleeping. Y'all meet Dolly. She is a St. Bernard mix. She is 3 years old, and we got her on Sunday. It has been an interesting week full of learning on her part and ours. Hi everybody. So today we are going to be making the My Valentine tiny heart block. It finishes at 7 inches if you add the little border to it, right? And the pattern is down below. Now let me just remind y'all, patterns that are released, videos that are released with patterns on Friday are free for a limited time. So you might want to subscribe and click the bell notification so you get notified on Friday as a reminder. Grab the pattern. Monday morning, this pattern is going straight in the Etsy shop. So if you're watching this after, like a week after, 6 months after, it's in the Etsy shop. It's $4. And you can come back to this video and watch me make it. Hi everybody. All right, so today, you saw the thumbnail for this one, right? And I designed this so that you could break up the colorway. I did a light pink fabric up here and a darker pink fabric down here, which is really fun, right? But in the sewing portion today, I made the heart all one color. So you're going to see me make this one right here. All right, before we move on, I just want to show you a couple updates, okay? Things I'm working on, things you can be excited about coming up in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and give you some motivation to come back, okay? So as far as tiny blocks go, I have already started making patterns for the maple leaf. That was Miss Nita's suggestion. We're going to be doing that one next week, I think. Hi, everybody. It's so great to see you. Dolly, she's doing really good. She's a good dog. She's good. Look, she's just sleeping. The cats are adjusting. They're still hunkered up upstairs. It's a process, y'all. So maple leaf is coming up. And then we're going to be doing the wheels block. I really like this one. "3 months to be fully adjusted," said Terry. We're being really patient, and she's doing a good job. The cats, and Popcorn, he always gets jealous when we get a new family member. So he's adjusting too. It's a process. The wheels block, and whoops, I'm clicking on the wrong thing. A butterfly block. Isn't that so pretty? Isn't that pretty? So all of these are coming up in the next couple weeks, okay? And then I thought that I would show you a picture of our Miss Dolly down here. I'm always pointing in the wrong way. Down here. Isn't she so pretty? Look how big her paws are. She is humongous. She is really big, and she's a big snuggle bug. All right, and then as far as bigger projects coming up, not full-size quilt projects, more like wall quilts, probably videos that I will pre-record, and we're not going to do them on a Friday because I think the whole process is going to take some time, but I want to get you excited for this. I've been working on a mariner's compass. Y'all, I drew that in EQ8. It took several hours to get it right. But I'm in the process, and I'll show you that real quick before we get started with the sewing. I'm in the process of testing the pattern. I'm having so much fun. But if you've ever wanted to make one of these, I have one coming up soon. And y'all remember Rudy the Rooster, see my embroidery? That's machine embroidery right there. I am transitioning that into a quilt pattern. And I'm not finalized on the border yet. What do you think about that border? Do you think it's too much? And this will be a wall quilt too. Debbie Lee says, what ambition. I've been so busy, y'all. Lisa, I'm breaking down the mariner's block so that we don't have to do any curved piecing. I have tried and tried and tried to do curved piecing, and I get little puckers everywhere. Like, I know it takes practice, but I just don't have the patience for it. So we're going to do a mariner's compass without curved piecing. Can you believe it? Yeah, Steffi says that border is a lot of work. Let me just tell you. So this is the actual size of the border. And I did this without paper piecing, although I do think I would prefer paper piecing. So, what do y'all think? That's something I'm working on too. The last two quilts, the Mariner's Compass and Rudy, not immediately in the future, like not next week, but I'm working on it as fast as I can. Dawn says, I'm glad you're going to do a rooster quilt. Yes. All right, so let me just show you real quick before we move on. Here we go. I am making the Mariner's Compass. I'm testing the pattern. Look how perfect my little circles are. That's turned edge applique. Look how perfect my circles are. So that's the very center of the Mariner's Compass. And so the next portion I'm going to test is the next ring that goes around like this, right? So that will be paper piecing, that ring that goes around. But yeah, it's turned edge, so we don't have to piece a curved seam there. I've tried and tried. Here's my first attempt. Hold on a second. I realized you don't see me. Here we go. I've tried and tried curved piecing, and it always turns out like this. Again, I mean, I know it takes practice, right? But yeah, I just don't have the patience for it. So I'm going to do a Mariner's Compass without the curved piecing. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So even if you're a beginner, we're going to make a Mariner's Compass. And I'm going to make it super duper easy. Okay, so are y'all ready to get started with the sewing portion? It's about 30 minutes, but I get to hang out with you like this. You'll see me like this. And I also made a chicken song about the chicken's muddy feet. I don't know if we're going to hear it during the video, or maybe I'll play it at the end. Allison said, I'm so excited about the compass. Yes, me too. I've never made one, but I want to. We're going to do it. All right. So y'all, this is my first time doing a video like this, so y'all be patient with me, but I think it's gonna go good. So let's go ahead and switch the screen, and the video is gonna start playing here in a second. The pattern is just like all the previous patterns up to today, right? All the tiny blocks. There's simple instructions in here. There are paper foundations, and there's also pre-cutting templates with a little template map. So we're going to pick up, and I'm just going to get started right away. Okay, now just to let you know, there's a whole playlist of all these videos. They're all grouped together. That's in the description box as well. Are y'all ready? Here we go. So we're going to go ahead and just start by taking a look at the little map, because I like to color mine, right? For me, that is just so much easier to see it, the different fabrics, the different templates that I'm going to use. And on my foundations, I like to write which template I'm using in which place. I mean, I think that that's super, super easy, right? So this block has 3 different foundations. Look, I'm so fancy. We're going to start with the very first foundation, the biggest one that has the most pieces. Yeah, she's just chilling out right there. I took her for a walk, y'all. I wore myself out. So y'all, just like all the paper piecing, like if you've been following along in this series, you probably don't even need to see this, right? You know, we're going to start in the very first position. They're all numbered in numerical order. I'm going to use my light pad off to the side because it is so bright in the camera, right? And I'm just going to position that very first fabric, and right over to the right, you can see, I can see about 1/4 of an inch beyond those sewing lines. Then we're going to grab fabric number 2. For fabric number 2, I used the C template. Remember, I think the hardest part one of the hardest parts about paper piecing, right, is to remember that first fabric is placed on the back side of the foundation with the fabric, the right side facing up. And then I'll audition my piece and then flip it over, right, to make sure it's just orientated in the right direction. And we're sewing right on that line. Now this is a little different for me because I just don't have that much to say usually. Now most parts of today's video we're doing in real time. Like I'm going to sew this seam in real time. But a lot of the extra stuff is cut out, right? Like the transition from camera to camera. And a couple parts I did speed up, like the pressing parts. You know what I'm saying? Valentine's Day. Are any of y'all going to even try to go outside or go out to eat tonight? We're going to go tomorrow. Although I imagine it's going to be busy tomorrow too. So there's the first 2 fabrics on the first foundation, right? I'm going to use my add 1/4 inch ruler plus ruler. It has the little beveled edge, right? Makes it really easy to fold that foundation over and trim away any extra fabric, just leaving that 1/4 of an inch. Mimsy's staying home. My parents are cooking chili, so we're going to go next door for supper. Bringing in fabric number 3. Y'all see how I'll lay it in the right orientation with the right side of the fabric up and then flip it over, right? I think that makes it a lot easier. Lisa, that sounds delicious. Yay, TJ Texas, I'm really enjoying your new way of doing your live. I get to read the comments now. I always feel like I'm missing so much of the conversation. But hopefully you get the gist of what I'm doing, right? And I think this would be really helpful if you're wanting to make this block and you're really, really new at paper piecing. You can mute me and just watch the steps, right? And pause it and sew along with me. Yes, Danielle, it's way too crowded going out to eat tonight. Debbie's getting 6 inches of snow this afternoon. We had snow a couple of days ago, but it's gone. So Terry, yes, I pre-cut my fabric pieces to the size and shape. So in the pattern, the last 2 pages are pre-cutting templates that you can use to pre-cut your pieces. And for me, I end up wasting a lot less fabric doing it that way. And it helps me line up my pieces more accurately if I cut them to the shape of the templates, right? So those are included in the pattern. Designs by Christina says, this is my second Valentine's Day since I lost my husband. I know that has to be so hard, Miss Christina. Oh, I wish I could give you a hug. Sheila, it did not snow at your house. It snowed here and then turned to rain. Although the snow was on the ground and the snow was on the roads and there were lots of accidents. There were like 8 accidents in our town that day. I'm so fancy. You don't even know. All right, we're on to the second unit. All right, so the second unit only has 3 pieces to it, right? You're going to be using the A, the B, and the E templates to cut your pieces. This one's going to go by much quicker because we have less pieces to add to it. We're going to add the first fabric right side up. And then all the other ones, we're going to audition it in the right position and then flip it over right sides of fabric together. See how I'm going to lay that piece of fabric down? That is the orientation, especially if you use your light pad or a window, right? You can see the sewing lines. You can see the direction of the fabric or the piece and then flip it over. Just make sure you know, getting it all lined up correctly. Sheila, I was wondering about up that way. We woke up and I was in the shower getting ready to go, and Harlan came upstairs and said it's sleeting outside. I was like, oh no. Oh. All right, see, we're on to the third one. Before we add that third fabric, like always, we're going to go ahead and just fold that paper edge right on that line, trim away any extra of that seam, just leaving that 1/4 of an inch, right? And then we are ready to add the next piece. The long part of I always like to say that, the long part of the triangle goes this way. So I do have some music I made a chicken song because that was requested. I was talking about how muddy my chicken's feet are. And so I used that app and it's actually a really nice song about my muddy chicken's feet. I will say, Sheila, I had intentions on buying some brown fat quarters at that quilt shop. So you're right. It leaves me more money for the quilt show coming up. I was trying to budget my money and I was going to just restrict myself to some brown fat quarters. But now I get to take that money to the quilt show. All right, so the second foundation is all done. We're using the 1/4 inch line on our ruler and that inside line, and we're just trimming up the piece, and look how perfect that is, right? And now we're on to piecing the third unit. So the third unit, y'all, is just so easy. It's one piece of fabric. There's no piecing. But I really want that fabric to stay on that paper, right? So I'm going to add some glue stick, just a little bit dabs here and there on that piece of paper. I'm going to add the paper on there, and I am going to press it off the camera because it just bonds that glue just a little bit stronger. You're going to see here in a little bit, I'm able to take the paper off, but it does make the glue bond a little bit stronger. So I'm going to heat it with the iron, and we're going to trim it up just like it's a pieced foundation, okay? But it's just got the one fabric on it. Lisa said, before we close out, can you explain what a mirrored image is and how you do it? Do you just turn your template over if it's too much? I'll figure it out. Yeah, Lisa, if you're here at the end, remind me, okay? All right, so once all 3 foundations are done, we're going to lay them out just like this. Now the paper's still on the back side, right? I think the most confusing part, and I'm going to pause it right here just for a second. When I was making this, and I've made this block twice, the most confusing part for me was laying them out like this. Because when you have all 3 pieces and you're trying to lay them out, you're like, what the heck? How does this not go together? So I'm pausing this part on the screen because if you're making this block, you can come back here and see. And Lisa, this has a lot to do with it. When you are looking at the fabric, the template map, that's a mirror image, right? So when you are done, we're piecing the fabric on the back side of the paper, right? The back side of our foundations. So when we flip it over to see the fabric, it's a mirror image of this template map, okay? So when you go to lay out your foundations, it took me a minute to get them all lined up the way that they're supposed to go. So this is how you're going to line up your foundations with the fabric side facing up. And maybe, Lisa, that explains your question. But when we're doing foundation paper piecing, we're always adding the fabric to the back side of the foundations, which gives us that mirror image, right? All right, we're going to pick back up. To piece these together, we're going to sew the 2 larger sections together first. And if you trim them up to that 1/4 inch, right, they should line up perfectly. And I find it really helpful. See this where my left hand is touching? That edge right there should be nice and flush. See that? Now I'm going to just add a little binding clip just to keep these pieces in place, right? And we're going to go over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew right on that line. Remember, I still have my stitch length lowered to like a 1.0. And I'm going to stitch right on that line, joining these 2 foundations. Now that binding clip always catches the little lip of my sewing plate. I was sewing this and the binding clip caught it, but I didn't realize what was happening and nothing was moving. I was like, what the heck is going on? It was the binding clip. So we're just sewing right on that line. Remember, with paper piecing, it is so accurate as long as you're sewing on the line, right? If you deviate and have a swervy line, it's possible that your seams are not going to line up as perfectly, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just use my little pokey tool and remove the paper just from that seam allowance, okay? So much talking, I got thirsty. Look, my little doggy, my big doggy, she's sleeping through this whole thing. She's like, Mom, this is the most I've heard you talk all week long. Now I'm going to press that seam towards the smaller foundation. Okay, see how it just kind of wants to go that direction anyway? Off camera, I'm going to go press that, and bam, like magic, we're back. And then we just have this third piece we're going to add down in this left corner. And that piece should match up and fit perfectly, right? See that? Usually I don't use a binding clip. There you go. We're going to bring that to the sewing machine. Some days my moods are so different. I guess the day I was sewing this, I thought a binding clip would be a good idea. Most days I don't use them though. Brenda, you're still looking for the tool I got from the Dollar Tree. Do you have many Dollar Trees in your area? If anything, I can always pick you up one and send it to you if you want. You can send me an email, lisacapenquilts@gmail.com. All right, that piece is sewn on. We're going to remove that paper from the seam allowance. And with this seam, we're going to be pressing it towards that third piece that we just added, right? See how I'm just flipping that right on over? And off camera, I'm going to go press it, and bam, we're back. I love the fabrics I chose for this block. They're so pretty. Now comes the part that most people do not enjoy. I myself am singing off camera. You can't hear that part, but I like picking the papers off. All right, so we're going to go ahead and remove all the papers from the back side, and then we're going to add the borders. And because I've pre-recorded the sewing portion and reduced a lot of the extra stuff, right? We have time to add borders today and do some quilting on this block. So there's our block. You could just use it like that, right? But we're going to add some borders to it. The measurements for the borders are on the first page of the pattern. We're going to add our first two. I always go with the left and right first, right? And these are solid seams all the way from edge to edge, right? 1/4 inch seam allowance. Look at me, I'm so busy. Oh, see, Kathleen likes to peel the papers off too. Yeah, I mean, when I read blogs and forums and online discussions about paper piecing, I think that's the biggest complaint I hear is a lot of people just don't like to remove all the papers when they're done, right? I think I'm an oddball. And so are you, Kathleen. We're oddballs together. I actually enjoy that part. So there's our first two seams with our borders, right? So I'm going to take this over and we're going to trim those extra parts of the border. We're going to square them up, make it all nice and pretty. It is weird watching my watching my past self be so busy. Sharon, you made it. You're here. So I'm going to go and press these two borders, right? And I can't remember. Do I bring you along? I do bring you along for pressing the borders. The first thing I'm going to do is just set those seams, right? And then I'm going to fold the border over and we're going to press that seam towards the border. See that? Nita, I think that's one of the things. For me, it eliminates the need for such accurate cutting and accurate sewing, right? And that's the parts about piecing that stresses me out the most. So yeah, paper piecing really eliminates that, right? So the top and the bottom borders, we're going to add those now, and this is where I'm going to leave my opening. I've fallen in love with this method, and I try to apply it to everything I make now. The first border that we're adding, I'm just sewing all the way from edge to edge. Oh, see, I'm in really good company because several of y'all don't mind removing the paper. So we should form a club. Hello, Sheila. Yes, I get to read the comments. I've always felt like I'm just missing so much when I'm over there sewing, right? So Mimsy had a great idea. This is the last border. This is where I'm leaving my opening, right? And I like 2 inches is really nice. It's a good amount of an opening to turn everything. Just don't forget to do a back stitch like I'm doing right here. That's going to keep that opening nice and clean. It'll help those stitches not pull out as you're stuffing everything through there, right? Sheila said our club name could be the Paper Pickers Club. PPC. Are you down with PPC? That's the thing about this though, y'all, is I'm a goofball. And I can already see saying dumb things. All right, so we're going to just square up the extra little tidbits of those borders too, right? I like both my blocks, the one with the light pink and the dark pink, but this one's my favorite. TJ Tex says, I just made a wall hanging and I used your turning idea for the wall hanging and it worked awesome. Isn't that fantastic? Now I like to add a little bit of glue before I press, just in that opening, because it just keeps it nice and crispy and perfectly clean, right? And before I press it, I'm going to do a little tappy tappies right in that opening with my fingers. Tap that glue and look how crisp and clean that edge is right there. And it stays like that while you're turning everything right side out. Lisa said, I like that PPC. Sheila wants to know, will there be a secret handshake? I'll put you in charge of that, Sheila. You start working on a secret handshake and let me know. So Terry says, I do not sew my papers because I don't like ripping them out. And that's the awesome thing about paper piecing, right? You don't have to sew through the papers. There's so many different ways of doing it. Now we're going to layer the block. So I have the Creative Grids 7.5-inch square ruler, which has sped up cutting the batting and the back fabric of these blocks so much, right? There's a link for that down in the description box if you want to check out that ruler. We're just going to put the batting down, the back fabric facing up, right side facing up, and our block right side facing down. And I'm going to add some pins just to keep these layers in place. We're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew all the way around. We don't have to leave that opening along this edge. Dawn says, I would like to join the PPC. I used to not sew through my papers, and matter of fact, I have, if you watch any of my first paper piecing videos on my channel from way back when, right, years ago, you see me using freezer paper and regular paper and not sewing through the paper, sewing next to the folded edge, right? Along the lines, along through the years, I just found sewing through the paper actually enjoyable because I'm weird like that. All right, so there's my little opening. We're going to pull everything, and I fast forwarded this part because this part is always just seems like it takes forever for me. But we're just going to be poking out all those little corners. And I'm going to pull out my chopstick here in a second and just smooth out all the seams from the inside, right? And poke out those corners. Kathleen said I can be goofy. It's a good thing y'all like me because I am a huge goofball. She's such a good dog. So once we get it all smoothed out, right, I'm just going to give this block a press. And then we're going to go back to the sewing machine. Y'all know we're going to do a straight stitch right inside that border, right next to that seam. It's going to make it look like it has a binding. It's like a faux binding, but it's also going to close that little opening up. So Terry said, for a small project, I will try to sew through and see how I cope. See how flexible you are? Try it and see. What's good is you can always go back to the other method, right? So there's seam all the way around. Look how nice and pretty that is. And now we get to quilt the block because Today's video is going to be so quick. Now, I thought on this one I would use my friction pen, right? And I'm going to just use one of my rulers and I'm going to draw some lines so that I stay nice and straight. Now, there's lots of different ways you could quilt this, right? You could do a simple stitch in the ditch right around the shape of the heart. The very first one I did, I used one of my quilting rulers that has a curved edge. That's really kind of hard to see. There you go. See that? And I used my friction pen and did curves. Oh, see how big she is? She got an itch. So there's my lines, and they're kind of hard to see on the camera, right? But I can see them in person. And I'm just going to use those as a guide. So the first thing I'm going to do is just anchor down the heart shape. I'm going to stitch in the ditch right around the outside of the heart. And without breaking thread, I'm going to just sew right on all these lines and you get to follow along. Diane, for all the blocks, if you check out video number 1, it's the house block, tiny house block. It's the first video in this series, and there's a link to the series in the description box. If you fast forward to the end of that video, I show a couple of different stitches you could use. There are more, and how I just place them touching each other and connect them with like a zigzag stitch or a decorative stitch in the sewing machine. And it works fantastically. So there she is. I'm going to heat press this with my iron, remove those lines that I drew on there, and she's all done. Brenda, you're having surgery on Wednesday. I'll be praying for you for sure. So now all I have to do is trim my block, or trim my threads. And as soon as this is over, we have like 26 seconds. I'll bring you to my desk right here, and I'll show you the quilting on the first one that I did, just to give you a couple of ideas for quilting. See that straight line quilting? Isn't that pretty? Super simple. I love this block. I'll also show you my friction pen. Let's come back here. These are, I'm going to put it up close. I always say friction. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Fine liners. I really like them. They come in lots of different colors. And when you heat set them, the line disappears. Although you have to be careful with these on certain fabrics. If the quilt gets cold, the line sometimes shows back up. So that's the marker that I used. And then I wanted to show you a closer up version of the quilting on this one, because I used one of my quilting rulers, and you could use anything that's a circle shape, right? And with that same marker, I drew in my lines, and see how I got my shapes like that? So that's a different quilting look too, right? I wanted to show you that. There's a couple of different quilting options. So what did you think? Did that move too quickly? Like, I think you get the gist of paper piecing, especially if you've been following along in this series, right? Then you know. But sometimes it's helpful if you get stuck in an area and you're like, how does piece C get attached? And then you can come to the video and see how I laid it out and how it went together, right? She's over there. It's bath time. She's such a good girl. Let's come back to this camera. You might be able to see her better. She's such a good girl. She's a little stubborn though. Like, we're having to learn each other. When I take her out, I put her on a leash. And what was it? Day before yesterday, when it was drizzling and it was freezing cold, or maybe that was yesterday. I'm losing track now. Anyway, I was walking her, and when she gets her mindset that she doesn't want to go anymore, she does not go, and she weighs about 130 pounds. When she decides she's not walking for whatever reason, it was because there was a dog across the street and she wanted to play with that dog. I stood out in the freezing drizzle for 15 minutes trying to get that dog to go. Today, a little while ago, I took her out and we were walking at the back line of the property, and she got it in her mind that she didn't want to go anymore. She wanted to go towards the compost pile. Like, I guess she can smell it. And we're not going over there. So she hunkered down in place. And this time it was only about 8 or 9 minutes before I could get her going again. Anyway, we have some leash training to do. Carla, you did it. What was the name of the house block? It's called the tiny house block. And it should be the very first. That's not me gassy, y'all. That's my chair squeaking. It's the very first video in this whole series, right? So if you open up the description box, the playlist link is right there, and you click on it, scroll all the way up to the top, because I think they're in numerical order of when they came out. And the tiny house block, it was the very first block we did that's this size. She might be more than 130. We were just told she weighed 130. We haven't weighed her. She might be more than that. I don't know. But isn't she so pretty? She's like a gentle giant. I know I'm going to have to put some treats in my pocket. Before coming to hang out with you, I was actually watching a video on YouTube about what to do. Because, y'all, it's been years since we had a dog. And when our last dogs were smaller, like a fraction of her size. So, yeah, when she decides she's not doing something, I can't move her. So I was stuck out in the yard in the drizzle, freezing rain, because I wasn't letting go of her. But she's a super, look, she can see out. I have glass doors right here. Her dog friend lives across the street. So look, she's looking out that door. So yeah, it seems like y'all liked the taped version. I'm going to tell you what, it was way less stressful for me. So maybe we'll do that again next week. Next week, we're going to be making the maple leaf block. And that's super simple. Let me just tell you, you'd be doing me a solid if you clicked on the share button and shared this video on your Facebook, especially if you have friends who are just starting in their quilting journey, right? And you've been trying to get them to try paper piecing, and they're like, no, it's too hard. It's too complicated. This is a super easy block. Like, if they started with this, they might fall in love with it. So if you click on the share button, it's free to share the video on your Facebook, or maybe on one of your Pinterest pages if you do that, right? Super, super simple, like beginner level paper piecing, right? Not like last week. The farmer's daughter was a little bit more complicated, but this is very beginner friendly. I'll tell you, she matches my energy. Do you see her? Her energy matches mine. Like, she wants to go out, but only for a little bit. And then she wants to come back in where it's warm and where she can rest. And then she'll get up and she'll walk around and she'll nibble some food and she'll walk around and then she wants to rest. I haven't yet seen this dog run. I'm sure she does, but she hasn't even acted like she wants to just run. Everything is nice and easy and chill. Until she sees the cats. Bless her heart, she has had her heart broken about 80 times this week. She doesn't act aggressive towards the cats. She just acts like she wants to play. She gets excited, and her size is intimidating, and she's new. So the cats are like, heck no, I hate your guts, dog. Why are you in our house? And they have been upstairs. She can hear them, and she gets her feelings hurt when they diss her. But, so in the last 2 days, the cats are starting a slow migration down the stairs. Like if you walk by the stairs, there might be a cat sitting halfway down the stairs, just sitting there listening. And last night when it was supper time for the cats, all 3 of the cats were like cascading down the stairs, just sitting. So they're working up their trust with Dolly, and it's a process. So far, she doesn't want to run. She is a rescue. She's actually was surrendered in Texas, and a rescue local to me drove down and got her because she was on a list to not make it because I don't know if it was her size. Maybe she wasn't getting adopted. She don't like to talk about her size. Did you see that? But anyway, a rescue here drove down and got her. And she's had her for a little over a month. And then we got her. She is 3. Supposedly, but I mean, how accurate do you really know if they were surrendered? The person we got her from did all the vet stuff. She's been fixed. She's had all her shots and everything. And according to looking at her teeth, they estimate she's 3. So we don't really know like her birthday or nothing. So we'll have a gotcha day as her birthday. Debbie said, did I miss the chicken song? Not yet. Should I play the chicken song before we leave? It is a cute little song. Just to let you know, in part of the song, they say cluck. C-L-U-C-K. If you're just walking by listening to the song and you're not really paying attention, you might think they say something else. But it's cluck. She does bark, and it's super duper loud. It is really loud. All right, I'm going to play the chicken song before we go. And then I'm going to be hanging out in the kitchen. I'm going to make a baked chocolate custard for Valentine's Day. Oh, and I go Monday for my new teeth. I'm super excited about that, but I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much because, you know, they had my teeth like 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and they didn't fit exactly right. So they had to redo them. Hopefully I'll leave Monday with a new smile. That would be lovely. If not, I'll just have to keep exercising my patience till we get it right. But yeah, Monday, I'm excited for that. And I'll play the chicken song now before we go. At the end of the chicken song, I'm just going to go. So thanks so much for hanging out with me, everybody. And yeah, share this video with your quilting friends. I think they're going to love making this block. I hope you do too. Let's come down here because this is where I put the song. Here we go. Yay, Carla!
Looking in the yard, watch my chickens hop. They're ready for a splash when the rain won't stop. With muddy little feet, they dance through the muck, chasing all the puddles, oh what a cluck. Feathers all the fluff, they're kicking up dirt. Oh splash, splash, muddy feet everywhere. Chickens having fun without a single care. Puddles left behind as the rain comes down, dancing in the laughter while the world spins around. Waiting for the sun, but the clouds keep rolling. Gathering together, my little flock is strolling. Every jump they take sends water flying high, dreaming of sunshine while the raindrops sigh. Singing in the rain, oh what a sight. Oh splash, splash, muddy feet everywhere. Chickens having fun without a single care. Puddles left behind as the rain comes down, dancing in the laughter while the world spins around. So here's to the rain, let the chickens play. Muddy little feet, they brighten up the day.
Thanks for entertaining me with my little song, y'all. I'm having so much fun with that little app. All right, everybody, have a fantastic week. I'll see you next week for the maple leaf block. Grab this pattern while it's free. Subscribe so you don't miss out the next Friday.